Evidently, Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones is not ready to pack away his pettiness about trading Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers just yet. Following Sunday's clash between the two teams, a reporter asked Parsons in the post-game about the emotions he felt in his return to AT&T Stadium when he played against his former Cowboys teammates for the first time since August 28's trade. In response, Parsons gave a thoughtful answer about how he put the emotions of playing for the Cowboys behind him once Jones traded him to the Packers. He also threw some shade at Jones for not calling him to inform him about the trade. "I didn't even get to talk to my owner, the person who drafted me," Parsons said Sunday about the trade to the Packers. "I found out through my agent. So, to me, that emotion side was pointless because the same way he called me into his office as a man, he couldn't tell me about the trade as a man." Of course, even with the matchup behind them now, Jones couldn't resist clapping back at Parsons when asked about his comments, even though he tried to play it cool at first. "I really don't want to respond to that at all," Jones said, via the team's website. "But that phone call thing got stopped when he told me to take his number off my dial. It was don't call him anymore. So I quit those calls." Will Jerry Jones' beef with Micah Parsons finally end? Quite a bit of drama played out between Parsons and the Cowboys' eccentric owner in the months before his trade to the Packers. Looking to avoid playing the 2025 season on his fifth-year option, Parsons, one of the most productive pass rushers in the league, had tried to negotiate a lucrative contract extension with the Cowboys, but he ran into a roadblock in the form of Jones, who dug his heels in on overpaying for his superstar. Throughout the summer, both sides took subtle, and some not-so-subtle, digs at each other, while Jones routinely said things in public that disparaged Parsons. Will the beef between them finally cease now that their matchup is behind them? Well, to be frank, that depends on how many more times reporters ask Jones about his since-traded pass rusher, as the 82-year-old owner never seems to mind commenting. The Packers and Cowboys could cross paths again in the NFL playoffs if both teams are able to punch their tickets with success in the regular season. Then again, Parsons could also re-enter the conversation circles around Dallas if he continues to thrive with the Packers and Jones' Cowboys falter later in the regular season and miss the playoffs. Either way, Jones has proven time and time again that he will go there if invited. Here's to hoping that he simply moves on and the conflict between the two of them cools off. Micah Parsons pissed off about defense versus Cowboys individually. Parsons had a strong performance against his former Cowboys teammates on Sunday, registering 8 pressures, 3 quarterback hits, and the team's only sack. According to Pro Football Focus, he also had an impressive 34.5% pass rush win rate. Parsons was anything but celebratory after the game ended in a 40-40 tie, though. I'm not even going to lie, I'm pissed off. I'm very disappointed in just, overall, how we performed, Parsons said Sunday. "I even told Jordan Love to the side, thank you for having our back today. That's why it's so pivotal to, you play complementary football. Because today, Jordan played like the player he was, and we let him down. We didn't live up to the level of expectation on defense." The Packers had a night of season lows on defense against the Cowboys, giving up their most points, 40, and most total yards, 436. Quarterback Dak Prescott completed more than 75% of his passes, 31 of 40, and picked apart their secondary. They also produced 0 takeaways for the second time this season, putting them at 2 total on the year. While the Packers will have time to lick their wounds and figure out what went wrong during the bye week, their defensive effort will likely remain under scrutiny until they play their next game against the Cincinnati Bengals, 2-2, on October 12th in Week 5. The Dallas Cowboys are up against the New York Jets on Sunday, October 5th, and it's another big game for the franchise. It's been kind of a strange year for the Cowboys because, of course, they're missing star wide receiver CeeDee Lamb due to an injury and are also getting their feet wet with a new head coach, and head coach is Brian Schottenheimer, who took over for former head coach Mike McCarthy in January. The Cowboys have their franchise quarterback back in the fold, Dak Prescott, and that's good news, but honestly, some Cowboys fans seems to go hard on him. Sure, it's not easy being a quarterback, and there's a lot of pressure on quarterbacks like Prescott, but they can't do it all. Sometimes, the quarterback becomes the scapegoat if a team isn't doing well. We're looking at you, New York Giants and Daniel Jones. But Prescott is getting a much-needed and deserved boost going into the 2025-26 season, and it's just in time for the Jets game. At least someone in the NFL has noticed that he's been delivering this season, and they're letting the world know. Dak Prescott is having a great year with the Dallas Cowboys. Prescott is having a solid season with the Cowboys, even if that hasn't translated into wins. Nick Shook of the NFL's website has a piece out naming the best quarterbacks going into Week 5, published on Thursday, October 2nd. In the piece, he named Prescott as one of the 5 top-tier quarterbacks in the league. That's such an honor. The Cowboys' 1-2-1 record doesn't suggest it, but Dak Prescott is having a fantastic season, he says in the piece. He put together an excellent performance in a shootout with the Packers, completing 31 of 40 passes for 319 yards and 3 touchdowns, including arguably the NFL's best throw of the year to Jalen Tolbert for a 34-yard completion that set up their field goal in overtime. He added that Prescott is firing some unbelievable passes into tight windows and propelling the offense, even with CeeDee Lamb sidelined. So, yes, Prescott is on top of his game. Let's see how he does against the Jets this weekend. Dallas Cowboys predictions. As each week goes by, it seems like more and more analysts are noticing the Detroit Lions in a good way. In the NFL's latest power rankings going into Week 5, out on Tuesday, September 30th, Erick at home puts the Lions at number 3. Detroit was not prolific offensively against Cleveland, but no one has been this season, at home says. Still, this is the second time in 4 games where the Lions have been kept somewhat grounded on offense, even if they've taken good care of the football. Committing 5 offensive penalties was out of character, and Detroit's still trying to hone the connection between Jared Goff and Jameson Williams. Do you think the Lions will pummel the Bengals on Sunday? Contact me with your game predictions. The Detroit Lions have a few more weeks left until they have their Week 8 bye week, so let's hope for win after win leading up to it. The Dallas Cowboys must do something with Jack Sanborn, and they need to do it now. The former Chicago Bears linebacker was supposed to be a seamless fit in Matt Eberflust's defense. However, he hasn't lived up to expectations in Dallas, and the issues he's facing are sticking out like a sore thumb. Sanborn's season-long woes were a huge talking point in the tie to the Green Bay Packers. He failed to drop in coverage and left the middle of the field open over and over. He might be familiar with his former head coach, but Eberflust's defense as a whole has been a disaster in the first month of the season. With that in mind, the Cowboys could and should turn to a familiar face to solve this mistake. According to NFL Network's Tom Pelissero, veteran LB Erick Kendricks turned down a practice squad deal with the Baltimore Ravens, leaving the door open for a potential return to Dallas. The Cowboys need Erick Kendricks back. Erick Kendricks declined an offer to start out on Baltimore's practice squad and is headed home this morning. Off-season shoulder surgery kept him out, but he's in peak shape now and determined to keep playing. He has 1,174 tackles over 10 years, including 138 last season, Pelissero wrote on X. The Cowboys' decision not to re-sign the 32-year-old linebacker turned some heads at the time. He had 48 defensive stops last season, forced 3 fumbles, and was a force as a pass-rushing linebacker, 3 sacks, and a 78.5 pass rush grade via Pro Football Focus. He was also on the field for most defensive snaps. Perhaps Jerry Jones had some concerns about his durability, given that Kendricks is aging and underwent off-season surgery to address a shoulder injury he suffered during the 2024 campaign. With the veteran linebacker passing on an offer from the Ravens, coupled with the clear issues Sanborn has dealt with thus far, this might be the perfect time to lure him back to Arlington. Clearly, Kendricks feels healthy enough to make a roster, and he's only going to sign with a team if the situation makes sense. Sanborn has been bad against the run and even worse against the pass this season, giving up 9 catches for 117 yards. The Cowboys are allowing the most total yards and passing yards per game in the NFL entering Week 5, as well as the second most points per game. While it has been a bad effort all across the board on that side of the ball, Sanborn definitely deserves a special mention for his struggles. Despite this, the Cowboys are still 1-1, so there's plenty of time to address this issue by pursuing proven veteran contributors, like Kendricks, to plug the most noticeable holes currently facing this defense.